Hey everyone, I'm Reagan and this is your news brief now on NRN. Today is Monday, December 16th, 2019, and here are your top stories. In a new Rasmussen poll, voters show that they are ready to jail or fire senior law enforcement officials who illegally targeted President Trump. But most think that they are unlikely to be punished. That latest report from telephone and online surveys finds that 52% of potential U.S. voters consider it likely that senior law enforcement officials broke the law in an effort to prevent Trump from winning the presidency. 39% say that that's unlikely. This also includes 36% who say it was very likely that they broke the law to get Trump, and 24% who say it's not likely at all. These findings are virtually unchanged in surveying since February of 2018. A plurality, or 43%, thinks these officials should be jailed if they're found guilty of doing all of that. And that's up dramatically from only 25% earlier this year. While another 22% say that they should just be fired, and 15% favor just a formal reprimand, and your tiny 11% say that no disciplinary action should be taken. Also in the news, Virginia Democrats are proposing a mandatory state gun registration measure after widespread public panic, outrage, forced them to back off of a more aggressive plan to confiscate so-called assault weapons, a designation that gun experts have long rejected as arbitrary. Gun control advocates call modern sporting rifles, such as the popular AR-15, assault weapons, and it pretty much likens them to weapons of war. Governor Ralph Northam's plan still calls for a ban on all of these so-called assault weapons, albeit with a grandfather clause allowing those who already own such weapons to keep them. This according to a Northam spokesperson around December 12th. That grandfather clause will apply only if the owners register their weapons with the government before the end of the designated grace period. So we're not really sure when that is. However, in the recent flurry of all of this activity in Virginia on gun policy, this comes in wake of the Democrats' November 5th takeover of both houses of the General Assembly in Richmond, an electoral development that some observers say completes the years-long transition of the formerly red state now in control by Democrats on the levels of political power at all the state levels, including the governorship and the Attorney General's office. Now, all of that has caused a huge grassroots backlash throughout the entire Commonwealth. Of the 95 counties in that Commonwealth, more than 80 already have since declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties. This means that they vow not to enforce any gun laws that they deem unconstitutional. I even saw in Culpeper County that the sheriff would deputize individual citizens just so they could keep their guns. In other news, President Trump on Sunday called for an apology from former FBI Director James Comey amid this release of the Justice Department's report on the FBI investigation into Trump and Russia. Trump said on Twitter that Comey's admission on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace was only because he got caught red-handed. So this is basically what he said on Twitter. Quote, "So what are the consequences for his unlawful conduct? Could it be years in jail? Where are the apologies to me and others, Jim?" End quote. President Trump has accused the FBI, including Comey, of investigating his campaign and wiretapping one of his campaign advisors for political reasons. So on Sunday, Comey did admit on Fox News Sunday to sloppiness in the management of the probe. Now he also said, quote, "I was wrong. I was overconfident in the procedures the FBI and Justice Department had built over 20 years. I thought they were robust enough." End quote. An internal Justice Department investigation will also analyze the FBI's probe to determine whether the conduct was appropriate. Also in the news, a stronger economy and a severe housing shortage have the nation's home builders feeling better than they've felt in 2 decades. Builder confidence in the newly built single-family home market has jumped 5 points in December. It is now at 76. This is the highest reading since June of 1999, according to the National Association of Home Builders. Anything above a 50 is considered positive. So right now we're at a 76. And November's reading was also revised higher by 1 point, but it was down in the 50s. The index stood at 56 last December, and at the worst of the housing crash in 2009, builder sentiment was hitting as low as 8. And also in the news, the newly elected House of Commons is likely to have its first vote on Boris Johnson's Brexit plan on Friday, this according to Downing Street. It's the first stage of the Conservative majority government's plan to get the UK out of the EU by January 31st. This news comes as the Prime Minister had finally approved for a publication of a report that was examining Russian infiltration in British politics, which was controversially held up before the election, so you probably haven't heard of it. Johnson's spokesman said Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee, the ISC, had a report that had been cleared by the Prime Minister but wouldn't be published until the new incarnation of the committee was assembled to formally approve it. Under the Brexit plans, the Withdrawal Agreement Bill, which sets out the legal framework for the deal, will be submitted to MPs on Friday. While the Commons resumes on Tuesday, the timetable will initially be taken up with 2 days of swearing in the brand new MPs. This will be followed by the state opening of Parliament and the Queen's speech. That's about all I've got for you today, guys. Thank you so much. Don't forget to check out newrightnetwork.com for the latest headlines and opinion. Also, make sure to check out our Right Now podcast. The Right Now podcast brings you interviews from some of the most fascinating individuals in our conservative movement of today. Follow us on Twitter as well as Facebook, and check out our merchandise. I'm Reagan with your news brief now on NRN. Have a great rest of your day.